I always find it useful to have something to look forward to throughout the year. And I know it's a bit of a cliche to say it, but maybe now more than ever, we all need something to look forward to. With it being the beginning of the year, there's a lot of games I've been looking forward to for a while now that are set to release in 2026. And there's also a few that I just found out about and are excited for regardless. I've also added a couple of titles that don't have solid release dates, but could come out this year. They're worth keeping an eye on regardless. To start, let's go with games that are confirmed to come out this year. Y'all, Mina the Hollower is my Silk Song. I've been waiting for this for 4 years since it started its Kickstarter campaign. It's coming from the devs of Shovel Knight, which is probably the most reassuring thing you can hear about a dev team. And just like Shovel Knight, Mina the Hollower is mimicking a retro game style, this time the Game Boy Color, specifically the style of Link's Awakening in the Oracle games. And honestly, I think that era of Zelda was way too brief. It is long since time someone pushed this style to its limits. It also takes inspiration from Bloodborne for both its theming and apparently gameplay. Now there was a demo that was playable a while ago, and from what I hear, people really enjoyed it. But for me, this is one of those games that I want to go into knowing absolutely nothing. I am risking myself by just looking up the footage to put in this video. Now it was originally set to launch on October 31st of last year, but it was delayed to, as they put it, add some final polish and balancing to make the game truly shine. No specific release date yet, but from the sounds of it, it's pretty close to completion. So as the complete opposite of that, I just heard about Fable 2026 like this last week. I had no clue it was happening, and supposedly it's already coming this fall. So in the past, the Fable series was an action RPG where your choices either labeled you good or evil, and this would impact what skills you learn, how people treat you, things like that. It always seemed pretty neat, but given I was 8 at the time it released, I wasn't into it at the time, and once I was old enough to enjoy that sort of game, it was a bit dated, and apparently they fumbled pretty hard with the sequels. So a modern reboot seems like the proper way to go. They're keeping the morality system and expanding it in a way that, to me, feels like one of the most ambitious mechanics I've seen in a while. There's a couple of devlogs about the game, and everything they say, like logistically, I'm like, how can that work? How does that work? For example, every single character in the world will either agree or disagree with your various choices, and so they'll all have a different view of you. Kind of reminds me like of party affinity in games like Baldur's Gate 3, but expanded to literally every character. Sounds ambitious. Usually developers mention some mechanics like this and it's like, oh, only the characters from this one small area will have those unique feelings towards you. We all realize once the game comes out. But if what they say is true, is in the final game, it's definitely something to keep an eye out for. Demon Tides is a 3D platformer game that I've been keeping an eye on for a while. This is following up the Demon Turf games, and if you heard all the buzz about Bubsy 4D, same developers. The first few games in the series were a lot smaller in scope. They were linear challenge levels, while Demon Tides is going to be what looks like very open world. To me, it looks like it's taking a lot of inspiration from both Hat in Time and the Bowser's Fury mode from Super Mario 3D World. Unlike Bowser's Fury though, every time I see footage of this game, it's in a completely different biome with islands all over the place that I don't recognize. It feels impossibly huge. And there's not long to wait for this one. Comes out on February 19th, just a few weeks after this video comes out. And then last for this section, we have Solarpunk. This one's a bit of a low-key one just for myself. It's a base-building survival exploration game set on floating islands, with like a green futuristic style for its technology. It doesn't necessarily look like it'll be blowing any conventions out of the water, but it looks good, and I'm always a sucker for a Sky Island theme. I know I'm not particularly selling the game well, there's bunches of games like it out there, it's just my specific preferred flavor. The release date has been for quite a while, just vaguely sometime in 2026. Looking forward to it. Now for this next section, I'll have games either exiting or entering early access this year. A few years ago, Grounded had a chokehold on me for a couple of months. After playing Subnautica for the first time, I thought I'd never play another survival game that made me feel that way again, but Grounded did. There's no alien world, no unfamiliar monsters, just a regular backyard that you're shrunk down into. You make weapons out of pebbles or pieces of candy, you build a base out of blades of grass, and your enemies are things like ants and ladybugs. There's something special about seeing something like a wasp and knowing, oh, that'll mess me up on sight and I kinda know how it's gonna do it. Then you see something like an ant and you just know instinctively, oh, that's gonna be a common small fry enemy. It feels like you're being rewarded for just real world knowledge. The biomes you find are creative. An ant hill works as a cave. In the inside of a bush is a platforming challenge jumping branch to branch. The way it changes your perception on the most mundane things is just so neat. Now moving forward, Grounded 2 has been in early access for a while now, and as a rule, I don't usually play early access games unless it's like for content or something. I've gotten pretty burned before with things like missing story beats that were added in after I started playing, or something I really liked about the game being removed, so usually I just wait for the full release. And again, from what I hear, Grounded 2 is impressing everyone. It has a more fleshed out combat system, rideable bugs, more variety with the biomes, and a much larger world. Currently the roadmap reaches out to summer, and from the looks of things, they're kinda trucking with the updates. There's no guaranteed release date. Maybe it's a little cope that it comes out late in 2026, but I'm holding out hope. Next up, Fields of Mistria, to me, is the one that did it. I know a good portion of my channel is Stardew Valley, but it's not because I like farming games, it's because I like Stardew Valley. And so, you know, farming games that are just another farming game don't really interest me, but this has something. What initially attracted me was the Game Boy Advance-ish art style and a trailer theme made by Toby Fox. When I tried it though, it was clear they knew how to do the genre right. Details like all characters being available to you at all hours of the day, swimming through water instead of going around it, and having magic to supercharge the usually mundane farming is what kept me going. In its first early access release in summer 2024, I was able to put in nearly 50 hours into the game without feeling like I was exhausting the content it had to offer. I haven't touched it since, mostly to save myself for the full release, and I can only imagine how stuffed full it feels now. According to the current roadmap, there's one more pre-release update coming soon before the full 1.0 update sometime later this year. Also, they sent me a pink cow. I didn't even take any sponsorship deal or anything. They just liked the video I made and sent me one. It has sat on my right speaker ever since. Then we have one game that's entering early access. This is the only item on the list that's entering it, but I'm mentioning it mostly because I'll be watching its progress closely. Deep Rock Galactic: Rogue Core, a sequel of sorts to the alien planet dwarf mining game Deep Rock Galactic. This time leaning a lot more into a roguelite structure. Gameplay-wise, it looks very similar to its predecessor, with the main difference being that your build is put together while you're on your expedition, not prepared beforehand. Also coming with a bunch of new biomes, new enemies, new points of interest. Now, is that different enough from DRG to justify a completely different game? I honestly don't care, because they're also still updating the original. I adore every part of Deep Rock Galactic, and I will gladly take more of it. This game should be releasing into early access in Q2 of 2026. And then one last section, and it's getting its own section because I know how controversial it is. This is the Switch 2 games. I love Splatoon. The world, the music, the gameplay, the characters, everything about it sucks me in every which way. Splatoon Raiders was announced last year with pretty much nothing but a release year, which is the opposite of what we usually get. You know, like years of details with no release date until a few months before. That said, I'm gonna get a little speculative here. It seems to be focusing more on single player than the multiplayer elements. The title has salmon run colors, and that's by far my favorite part of the series. So I have hope that this isn't simply Splatoon 4, but maybe an expansion to the non-multiplayer game modes to the point that it can stand on its own as a separate game. That interests me, like a lot. But again, all speculation, we know absolutely nothing, but I'm still excited. And last, Pokopia. Now, regardless of what you think of the mainline games, the Pokemon spin-offs are almost exclusively bangers, and Pokopia looks like it'll be more of the same. Something about having access to the beloved IP without being beholden to the strict yearly release schedule forced upon the mainline series makes the games good. Imagine that. I've seen a lot of comparisons to Minecraft or Animal Crossing, and sure, I kinda see it, but more than anything, it reminds me of Dragon Quest Builders, which was another spin-off of an RPG series, where the focus is building up communities. It's also gonna have multiplayer, so you can have people over on your island. I don't know what we're on here, but they can come over to your town. Very reminiscent to me of coming to other people's islands in Animal Crossing back in the day. In all honesty, I'm going to be waiting for the reception of this game before grabbing it because, you know, Pokemon. But it's also a whole 70 bones, which is unprecedented for Pokemon spin-off games. Honestly, I don't even know if one's ever released for $60 before. The game's set to release on March 5th, 2026, so not too long to wait. Alright, that's my list, that's everything. Again, it's early in the year. We're due for plenty of things to be announced. There's basically nothing in the year lined up for the holiday season by pretty much any company. So, you know, we got plenty to look forward to. Thank you for listening. See you in the next one, and good night.